What's going on, everyone? So let's talk about Naz Reid and his potential fit with the Los Angeles Lakers. A couple things that I want to get out, right? Naz Reid is an incredible talent. I would love to have him on the Lakers. But he's going to want to start. He's already talked about, right, that he believes he's a starter and he wants to start, right? The problem is him coming to the Lakers, does he make sense as your starter at the center position, right? You could argue yes, because his ability to spread the floor and whatnot, but he's not that true center, right? He's 6'9", he is 264, right? He can spread the floor, but I mean, he's in a lot of ways kind of ideal for LeBron, right? Because LeBron likes to put his head down, get to the basket, clear, spread four wide, so that way he can kind of get to the basket, and finish strong or kick out to shooters. Where Luka likes the guy that, he can kind of navigate, collapse the defense, boom, easy outlet to the dunker, right? So make an argument, Naz Reid kind of makes more sense at the center position as that, right? Now, he's probably best as like a 4, right? Because he can defend in space, he can defend out on the perimeter, he can be a help defender, he can block shots at the rim, and then also play some center as a small ball, right? So like to me, he would be ideal if the Lakers, say, had a Nick Claxton, right? Let's say he was already on the roster, just for argument's sake. And then you went and signed, which we'll touch on that here in a moment, but you ended up signing a Naz Reid, and then now you have Naz Reid and, Nick Claxton, and then you can put Nick Claxton on the bench, slide over, play Naz Reid. You can run the small ball units that JJ Redick likes to run, and Naz Reid can man the center, right? I really like that idea. But as far as him being your starting center, come playoffs, that's the guy at the man in the middle alongside LeBron James at the 4. I don't like, as great as Naz Reid is, I don't think he's the answer for the Lakers as your starting center. I think they need again, you could argue him over like a Nick Claxton stuff. I don't hate it. If you told me it happened, I'm not going to be like, oh man, here we go with the Lakers. Like, no, I'd be like, that's great. Like, Naz Reid is an excellent player. He's 25 years old. He could be a foundation piece for now and the future. If you can make it happen, right? It's one of those things where you get him and you figure it out. And, he makes sense post-LeBron in a post-LeBron world, right? Right. So can you get through right now with a Naz Reid and LeBron? And then in that post, LeBron era, whenever he decides to ride off into the sunset, boom, now you're moving Naz Reid to the 4 and bringing in a center. Right, so that could be something that the Lakers could look to where it's like, this is momentarily, get a big physical center off the bench, right? Or, does LeBron willing to play more 3, right? If you get a Naz Reid and another center, I don't know, especially at this stage of his career. Again, he's probably best at the 4. There's a reason he keeps playing the 4, right? Like, so it just kind of questions I wanted to get out of the way before we really start to dive into Naz Reid. Now, that being said, if you can get Naz Reid, I think you get Naz Reid. Here's the thing about signing him. Lakers aren't going to have the cap space to sign him. Even if LeBron James takes a discount, they're still not going to have the cap space to sign him because he's going to go for more than the full mid-level exception. He's probably going to get somewhere in the 18 to 20 plus million range. I wouldn't be surprised if a team kind of overpays and gives him 25 million just because of his age and how good he's been. And teams might look at it as like, oh, imagine what he'd be as a starter, right? So I just think the only way to really get Naz Reid would be a sign and trade. Naz Reid says, I want to go to the Lakers. Lakers go, we want Naz Reid. Naz Reid goes, hey, I want to start. Lakers go, that's fine. You can be our starter. And then they work out a sign and trade deal, and Naz Reid kind of forces his way to the Lakers. That is probably the only way the Lakers would end up landing a Naz Reid. Now, again, could you do something where you go get a Naz Reid and then maybe because Daniel Gafford's still, because you wouldn't have to pony up a ton for Naz Reid. You would just have to match salaries, right? So maybe you're doing something like, say Naz Reid wants $20 million a year. So maybe you're doing something like that and you're doing like a Rui and Shake Milton for Naz Reid. Boom, now you got Naz Reid. He's coming in, boom, slotting in. He's getting his $20 million a year. And then maybe you're trading in whatever you got to, Dalton Connect and Gabe Vincent and going and getting a Maxi Kleba back, maybe whatever, right? Like you're working something out and going and getting a Daniel Gafford, right? So now you got Daniel Gafford. Maybe Gafford's like your backup for Naz Reid, but you're playing them both side by side at times during the regular season and in the playoffs, right? Kind of going those big lineups where like LeBron's at the 3, Naz Reid at the 4, and a Daniel Gafford at the 5, right? There's still options and flexibility there. It's just the type of center that you would want to get after getting Naz Reid, because you can't, what are you going to do? You're going to have 50, 60 million and big men? Like, you're probably not going to do that, right? So there are question marks about Naz Reid, but if you can get Naz, I do think he is one of the players that I do think would be excellent for the Lakers. Give you some shooting, some floor spacing, give you a guy that can defend in space, defend out on the perimeter, block shots at the rim. He's a good defender. He's not like this super elite, like he solves all of our defensive woes type guy, which is kind of why I'd have my concerns about him as your starting center. But if you go and get him, especially if you're paying him 20 plus million, you're really bringing him off the bench. Probably not, right? Like, you're probably going to start him. So then is he the guy that you're starting at your starting center position alongside a LeBron James? That's kind of where my concerns lie. But again, Naz Reid, 25 years old. He'll be 26 this August 26th. So again, a guy you'd have for the next, 8 to 10 years that you could have slotted alongside Luka, right? Slotted alongside, whoever else you get. You still got to get a center, right? You still got to get, in my opinion, multiple centers, right? Because I think Naz Reid is best as your 4, right? That can, on occasion, slot in and play small ball, right? Like, so I don't think there's anything wrong with like Naz Reid, LeBron, go get, Dorian Finney-Smith, let's say, right? So it's Dorian Finney-Smith, LeBron James, Naz Reid as your kind of front court, 2 wings, and then your center with like Luka Doncic, and then ideally I'd like a point of attack defensive guy, right? Maybe you go get a Nickeil Alexander-Walker, right? Maybe you could do something like that. Go get a Nah, right? Perfect. Like, something like, I don't mind that lineup and rotate. I don't mind that kind of unit being out there on the basketball court where you have kind of just, you're going kind of 5 wide and LeBron James can put his head down, get to the basket, do all that stuff. I'm not against that at all. I just like, is that ideal for like your starting and closing unit? That I don't know, right? I mean, obviously it depends on what it looks like on paper. Sometimes things, pen to paper look great, but you need to actually see the product. You need to see what it looks like in person, right? So maybe what it looks like is, maybe it's great. And it's like, man, they just have all these mismatches everywhere. It's just, they're torching teams, whatever, right? And, maybe that makes sense. And then on an occasion, again, say you're going and getting a Clint Capella, boom, slotting in Clint Capella, Naz Reid at times. So I do like Naz Reid and his versatility at the 4 and the 5. I think that is something that could just do wonders for a Lakers team, right? He's a guy that already in a backup role is giving you, 14 and 6. Like, what does he look like in a starting role? What does he look like as your main starter? So getting into the numbers on Naz Reid, right? Because that's important. Like, what could he provide? So again, he played 80 games, which is good. One of the things about Naz Reid too, he plays. Best ability is availability. Right? He played 80 games this season, 81 games last season, 68 games, 77 games, and 70 games. His worst season was his rookie year, which he played 30 games. But 80 games, started 17 of those games. Averaged 27.5 minutes per game, so only just under 30 minutes per game. 11.5 field goal attempts per game. 46.2% from the floor. 37.9%, so almost 38% from three-point range on 5.8 attempts. He shot 5 attempts last year at 41.4%. He is a career 37% three-point shooter on 4 attempts per game. So again, guy that can knock down the 3 ball and do it with some consistency. So give the Lakers some floor spacing. 2-point percentage. 5.8 attempts, 54.4%, EFG of 55.6%, 77.6% from the foul line on 1.8 attempts, so just under 78%, 6 rebounds, 2.5 assists, a steal, a block, and 14.2 points per game. If you look at his per 36 numbers, so basically if he was a full-time starter, what would his full-time starting minutes look like? Obviously, per 36 doesn't tell you everything, doesn't give you the whole story, but kind of gives you a little bit of an idea of like, okay, if he was playing the extra, handful of minutes, what could he produce out there? He'd give you 18.6 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, a steal, and 1.5 blocks per game. So again, on paper, on the surface, he's a guy that makes a ton of sense. Right? He gives you the versatility, right? Like I said, he's got the weight behind him. He's 265, right? 6'9", right? But again, he's not a true 7-footer, which the Lakers could use. And he's not this elite defensive player where it's like, man, he's gonna hold down and anchor the defense, right? Now, again, it's very different when you're playing in a different role, right? So, it's one thing when you're playing in a backup role and kind of slot it in, because Minnesota would have him all over the place at times, right? Which bodes to his versatility, right? But it's one thing when it's like, okay, you're kind of, and it's another thing when it's like, okay, this is your role. We need you to be our center. You're our starter. We need you to protect the rim. We need you to defend. We need you to become, basically anchor our defense. It's very different when that's now your responsibility as opposed to when you're in Minnesota, you're playing with Rudy Gobert, where Rudy Gobert's the guy that's anchoring your defense. Rudy Gobert's the guy that you're looking to handle all that dirty work for you. So you're just kind of doing all the other stuff, defending on the perimeter, so on and so forth. So again, don't hate the idea. I wouldn't be against getting Naz Reid. I do think he could up his total, right? Like, a 14-6 guy as a starter. I could see him being a, maybe 17-8 guy, right, for the Lakers. Because, again, he's going to get a couple more opportunities, setups between LeBron and Luka and Austin Reeves and stuff. If you get Naz Reid, you still got to get another center, and you got to get some real defensive help out on the perimeter, personally. But let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. As always, this is a discussion, so I want to hear from you. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me out, so we enjoy these types of videos. Truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.